Hey lovelies, this is Susie Ashworth here, mindset and marketing mentor for pre and postnatal specialists like you, founder of the Baby Business School and the Calm Birth School. And I thought I would hop on to try, I don't know if this is a really bad idea, to do a little strategic live stream before Aluna goes to bed. So this is either going to work or she's going to go mental and go, I need to go to sleep. So I'm going to try and keep it brief, that's the strategic part that I can't waffle on for ages and ages. So I see someone popped on. Hello. Say hi in the comments so I know who you are, my lovely. It took ages for my comments to come through this morning, so I'm not ignoring you if I don't say hello yet, but say like, hey Ray. So, if you have seen any of my posts today, you'll know that I have been reading or listening to Brené Brown. Hi, gorgeous. Brené Brown, her talks on the power of vulnerability. And hey, April. And if you haven't read any of her stuff, hi, Karen. Oh my God. I think that I have been resisting reading her stuff because I knew that I would find some of the concepts challenging. And I really, really did find some of what she was saying challenging in a really good way. But it's the first time that I have actually sought out the bookmark button on Audible so that I could sit and listen and kind of really take on board what she was saying and really see kind of how to apply things or kind of what was relevant in my own life. I really, really loved the talk, so I totally recommend it. And the whole kind of premise of the book is just, our power really lies in our vulnerability. Hey, Lindsay. And as individuals, kind of society or culturally, we are told from a very young age, most of us, that vulnerability is bad. And to let people see us at our most vulnerable, we leave ourselves open for being told that we are weak, which obviously is a negative trait. And what's interesting in business, and certainly the way that I teach, I believe that for us as service-based professionals who work in a competitive marketplace, we have to appreciate that people buy people. If we want to remove ourselves from a really commoditized marketplace where it's a race to the lowest price, we have to really embrace the fact that people buy us before they buy our services. And in this marketplace, that means that you have to share some of who you are. And I hesitate when I say some, because I think that for people who like the stuff that I do, probably you feel that I share loads. And I think that I do share a lot, but I also keep a lot back. Like, I don't always talk about my husband. I don't always talk about my kids. Obviously you see Aluna a lot because she's on my lap a lot. But most of what I share is about me, and most of what I share is always comes at a time and place where I feel very comfortable with what it is I'm sharing. So it's never really so raw that people feel like, oh my God, is she okay? From a business perspective, obviously we do that in the Baby Business School group, and I love that group for that. I think being able to share ourselves and be vulnerable is really, really important, privately and professionally. But I was really thinking about this and why so many of us have an issue with that sense of being vulnerable online. And the impact of that being uncomfortable with being vulnerable. And in the podcast talk today with Chi Chi, she said something that really, really struck a chord with me. She was like, we have to be visible to ourselves before we feel comfortable being visible with the world. And I thought, fuck me, that is so true. And one of the exercises that I get quite a lot of my private clients and mastermind clients to do is Louise L. Hay's mirror work, where you look in the mirror at yourself and you tell yourself you love yourself for a sustained period of time. And the reason that so many people find that hard thing to do is to look at yourself rather than your eyebrows or your nose or your lips or your eyes or whatever, and tell yourself you love yourself is a really vulnerable thing to do, because we have learned in many, many places from many, many people that we are not quite good enough. And to look at yourself and really own yourself and be proud of who it is that you are looking at can be so, so hard. So then when I stand there and say, come on, we have to share and we have to be ourselves and we have to be, the script that we have running in our head is, yeah, but I'm not quite good enough. I'm not quite good enough. I'm not quite good enough. And we, because of that script, we experience resistance when it comes to showing up. So that's kind of one area. Am I making any sense? But when I was kind of taking that a little bit further, the post I wrote today about authenticity was, I love her definition of authenticity is about stopping being the person we think we should be and embracing the person that we really are. And that made, I really, really love that definition, but it also made me think that that's one of the biggest reasons that we find it so difficult to be vulnerable, because we are presenting so much of the time what we think we should be being. And there is a little voice inside of us that is constantly saying, but that's not really you. But you don't really think that. But that's not really your voice. That's somebody else's voice. That's not really you. That's not your message. That's not this. That's not that. And when you're constantly hearing that or feeling that kind of more accurately, and I'm not quite sure why, because we've dampened down our true voice and our true message so much because we want to kind of blend in to the background and blend into the masses, because we've been telling ourselves for so long that we're not quite good enough as we are. That again is where we feel resistance. And I feel that the reason, Ashley, putting the kids to bed, we'll watch later. I feel like the reason that I feel very comfortable now, so much more comfortable than if somebody was saying to me, do this 2 years ago, is because I feel that, and it's still a huge way to go, but I feel that I am really stepping into who I am. And when I look in the mirror and I do that mirror work, I enjoy looking at myself. When I lift up my top and look at my stretch marks and my saggy, Luna just farting in my face, and I'm looking at my saggy belly, I can, not all of the time, but most of the time, I can really appreciate that stomach, really appreciate who I am, really appreciate the outside, but also what's, what's coming from the inside out. And I think that that makes it so much easier to have these types of conversations with you. And when you step into your power more, and as you step into your power more, I think that it becomes easier and easier to be more vulnerable, because we're not looking for outside confirmation that we're okay. We have looked ourselves in the eyes and seen ourselves to such an extent that we know that we are okay. And I think that from a business perspective and from a service, from being somebody who's offering a service, when you see somebody who is confident in themselves, who loves themselves, who is not, again, like Denise was saying, not trying to be the guru, not trying to have all of the answers, but is just contributing to a conversation and feels very strong in that stance, that's absolutely magnetic. You want that person in your corner. You want to be in their gang. And so when it comes to your pricing and your positioning, it becomes less of what am I allowed to do? And it becomes more about, okay, this feels really good for me. It's just a continuation of your strength and your power. So I suppose what I am doing myself, and I invite you to do, is if you're finding the sharing part hard, you know, start off with being visible with yourself. Start off with doing that mirror work. Start off with looking at yourself for 1-2 minutes in the morning after you've brushed your teeth, and spend that time appreciating who it is you are and how you're showing up. And then it's just baby steps. It's seeing, because yeah, I get it, we often experience resistance when we're moving up to the next level, you know, because again, but again, when we're moving up to the next level, it's still that voice saying that we're not good enough, you know. Who am I to whatever, who am I to do whatever? But it's still that voice. So just see where you can stretch yourself, and just in that moment look to bring presence and honesty to what it is that you are sharing. You know, there is not one person that I interact with, there's not one person in this whole planet, I don't believe, that has a voice and has a message that is relevant to somebody. And I think particularly in the environment that we are in, and the type of people that I am working with every day, so you guys, you all have a voice and all have a message, and you're not all supposed to be saying what I'm saying, and you're not all supposed to be saying what the next person's saying. You're supposed to be saying what is in there. And I think that when you can just start to stretch that muscle and put yourself out without the need to hear that yes, you're right, you know, without the need to have somebody patting you on the back. Obviously that's nice when that happens, but it's really getting aligned with your message and your voice, and knowing that regardless of whether any of us get it, that is true to you. I just think it's magnetizing. It's why you can start to listen to people who you completely disagree with and completely do not get, but when they are, you can still appreciate you can appreciate their stance, you can appreciate their confidence, even if you don't particularly get it. Karen, not sure I'll be putting out videos for another week or two, might be too vulnerable. Yeah, and I completely agree with you, Karen, because this isn't a platform, it's like Louis Tomlinson doing the X Factor a couple of, you know, on Saturday night or Sunday night, and his mum had just died. That, you know, maybe he needed to do that, and he needed to kind of, you know, it was a big deal for their whole family, but that is, he was far enough away from people for, I don't know what I'm trying to say, it was far enough away from people from, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It was a very vulnerable thing to do, and I think in your position, which is the main point, is that, yeah, probably it is too raw right now. You've got lots of healing and hopefully you know, just appreciating and celebrating the life that your mum had and the time that you've had together and all of that stuff, as well as the healing and the grieving. But yeah, you have to take your time out, and then when you're ready, hopefully that will have also unlocked lots of lessons for you that you want to share and that may be helpful to your audience and your tribe. Maybe not. Maybe it's something completely different. Start again, new year. Yeah, I think that sounds like a really good idea. You have to look after you right now. So I think that's it for me today, from us. Got any questions? If not, we're going to go. You did quite well there, Aluna, didn't you? Look, should we say hello? Zoe out. Oh, look at that lovely smile. Not happy. Right. All right, my darlings. I will see you on the other side. See you in the group. Take care. Bye.